Hello student, this is Mahadev Prasad, Assistant Professor of Department of Microbiology, Jesus College for Women, Saraswatipuram, Mysore. Today, let us look into a very important topic in the industry, the strain improvement. Before knowing about improvement of strength, microbial strain, it is very important to know the meaning of stock culture. Stock cultures are those culture of microorganisms that are stored or maintained for future use in such a fashion that their growth and productive capacities remain unaltered. There are two types of stock culture. One is working stock, another one is primary stock. The working stock cultures are those which are used frequently and they must be maintained in a vigorous and uncontaminated condition. And these types of culture are maintained in agar slants, agar stab, spore preparations or broth culture, and they are held under refrigeration. And these types of stock culture must be checked constantly for possible changes in their growth characteristics, nutrition, productive capacity and contamination. Primary stock cultures are those which are held in reserve for practical or new fermentation process and also for comparative purpose, for biological assay and also for possible later screening programs, especially in R&D. And these cultures are not maintained in a state of high physiological activity and they are believed to be preserved in a rare condition. Transfer from these cultures are made only when a new working stock is required, when the primary stock culture must be subculture to avoid death of the cell. Thus, the primary stock cultures are stored in such a manner as to require the least possible numbers of transfer over a period of time. Now let us come to an industrial strain. What is an industrial strain? An industrial strain is the one which is suitable itself for the production of a particular product and which is set itself as one of the ideal strain to produce a high quality of the product. So irrespective of the origin of an industrial strain, they must exhibit some of the following property. So an ideal industrial strain must be genetically stable and they must produce a large amount of the product during their biosynthesis and they must be well characterized, and during the course of growth they require limited amount of vitamins and some additional growth factors, and they should have the capacity of use a low grade and low cost readily available carbon sources, and they must be highly amenability with respect to their genetic manipulation. They should not pose any of toxic or they should not pose any toxigenic property or pathogenic property, and they should not release any toxic product during the production, and they should not pose any problem during the harvesting. They must be readily breakable whenever we are looking for recovering the product from internal structure of an organism. And there are some ideal feature apart from these. An suitable strain, an industrial strain must possess. They should have a rapid growth capacity, genetically more stable, and they should not be toxic to human beings, and they should not have any problem during the removal when there is a matter of larger in their size. And again they should use the cheaper raw material. And all these mentioned earlier, like a slide mentioned, parameters are the prime parameter that must be exposed or that must be characterized by an industrial ideal strain. There are various methods by which the strain improvements can be achieved. They are broadly classified into methods not involving foreign DNA, that is exclusively done by conventional mutation. Second one, methods involving DNA that are foreign to the organism, which is exclusively under recombination. Conventional mutation, they are generally taking place by means of spontaneous way at a very low rate in a population of microorganism, and this could add only to little extent. An increased rate can however takes place by means of induced type of mutation. So these induced mutations takes place with the help of mutagenic agents, which can be either physical or chemical agents. So physical agents which induces the mutations in microorganisms are ionizing radiations and non-ionizing radiation. So what are ionizing radiation? So we know that some radiations like X-ray, gamma rays, alpha particles and fast neutrons falls under these ionizing radiations, and they have been successfully used to induce mutations. One of the drawback of these ionizing radiation, they have non-specific in their action, and they directly targets the neutron. As a result, highly reactive radicals are produced. They cause us changes in the DNA, and even it may destroy. Because of this high reactive nature of this radiation, because of destructive nature and expensive, the application of these ionizing radiations are not that much of vigorous in mutation or in strain improvement. And another category of radiations which have got wide applications in strain improvements are non-ionizing radiation. Under this category, as we know very well, that ultraviolet light. The mutagenic range of ultraviolet light lies between 200 to 300 nanometer. So this can be generated by using low pressure UV lamp. As ideal range is 254 nanometer. So in this, the organism to be subjected for mutations or exposed to these UV radiation for particular period of time in order to bring about the changes in their genetic constitution, in order to bring about mutation. So we can expect nearly 60 to 99% of organism which can be get killed, and whatever the organism which are escapes these effectivity are partially mutated. They can be characterized further and compared with the original organism after exposed to the UV light, and thereby we can see that due to mutation after exposing to UV radiation, the newly obtained microorganism shows some different characters compared to the original. And you can see this diagram tells you of exactly UV radiation brought about the mutation. So mainly UV radiation acts on dimers formation. So we can expect both purine and pyrimidine dimer. Among these two, pyrimidine dimer, that to be thymine dimer is most effective, and this particular pyrimidine dimer formation could be the vital part in bringing about mutation. So let us come to the another important part of mutation called as chemical mutation. Various chemicals are known to be responsible for bringing about chemical mutations. You can look into the slides, and among them nitrous acid, alkylating agents and nitrosogonades. nitrosoguanidine. So nitrous acid is very harmless, and the mutation can be easily performed by using this particular chemical. Nearly 0.1 to 2 molar sodium nitrate is generally used, and organisms are exposed to this to bring the mutation. Some alkylating agent like ethyl ethane sulfate, diethyl sulfonate, and ethyl methane sulfonate are widely using alkylating agent. So a particular concentration particular percentage or concentration of these agents are prepared, and organisms are exposed to these chemicals to bring about mutation. And another important are nitrosoguanidine, also called as M-methyl N-nitro M-guanidine, and it is one of the most potent mutagenic known and must therefore be handled very carefully while using it. Nearly 0.1 to 3 milligram per ml of this concentration chemical is used to execute the mutation. And another important one are base analogs. So they are the chemical which are similar to the base of nucleotides in composition. They may be incorporated into a dividing DNA during the replication. However, this incorporation takes place only in special condition. The example include 2-aminopurine, a compound that resembles the adenine, and 5-bromouracil, a compound that resembles thymine. The base analogues, however, they do not have the hydrogen bonding properties of the natural base. So base analogues are not useful as routine mutagens because suitable conditions for their use may be difficult to achieve. That is why their application is very limited. So another important type of mutation which can be really matter of concern is a frameshift mutation. These are takes place by using intercalating agents which are interfere with DNA replication. So what is happening here? The compounds of intercalating agents are insert or intercalate between the adjacent base pairs of DNA, thereby pushing the nucleotides for enough apart that an extra nucleotide often added during the course of replication. Thus, by the entire frame of the original gene is going to be changed, and the original gene which is coding for a particular component will be coding a new compound after addition of these intercalating agent. Since it is differ greatly from normal type of what you call as mutation, and this type of mutation using intercalating agents play an important role. So chemical mutagenesis, so they, as I said, they act either directly on some basis and resting